In tonight's headlines, Xi Jinping says France and the European Union are China's important partners as the president sits down for talks with his counterparts in Paris. In Hong Kong, police are hunting for two men who allegedly abducted a woman on the streets of Tsim Sha Tsui. And the city's exchange fund posts a profit of $54 billion in the first quarter. President Xi Jinping has no time to waste as he set foot in Europe for the first time in 5 years. One night after touching down in Paris, the Chinese leader was invited by his counterpart Emmanuel Macron to his residence, the Élysée Palace. Xi was greeted by a guard of honor before sharing pleasantries with Macron. The pair then headed inside for a trilateral meeting with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. In his opening remarks, Xi said that Beijing is keen to improve ties in Europe, saying the continent is an important ally for China as it pursues modern development. Macron, on the other hand, touched on the sensitive issue of the war in Ukraine, saying cooperation with China is absolutely decisive on major matters. Reports have suggested the French leader wanted to press Xi to convince Russia to end Ukrainian aggression. Apart from military issues, the two sides were expected to discuss expanding bilateral trade. Von der Leyen was also cordial in her remarks, describing China as a vital partner on tackling major challenges such as climate change.
The European Union and China want good relations, and given the global weight of China, our engagement is key to ensure mutual respect, to avoid misunderstanding, and to find solutions to global challenges.
State media have been drumming up Xi's visit to France, signifying the importance and expectations of his trip. His visit also came ahead of the 60th anniversary of Sino-French relations. Publishing an op-ed in local newspaper Le Figaro, the president said China's door is always open for French companies. Beijing, meanwhile, has been encouraging Chinese enterprises to step up investment in France, he added. He called on France to ensure Chinese businesses operate in a fair environment, in a veiled reference to the EU's plans to impose anti-dumping tariffs against Chinese electric vehicles later this year. Xi will head to Serbia and Hungary after spending his final day in France tomorrow. Janice Lowe, Cable News. A citywide manhunt is underway for two suspects who abducted a woman on the streets of Tsim Sha Tsui in broad daylight. Surveillance footage from a shop on Ashley Road captured the moment at around noon. The woman was seen having a smoke outside a restaurant when a man dressed in black scoured the area from nearby. He eventually approached the woman with an accomplice and yanked her away from the scene. The trio disappeared from the camera as they headed towards Yichang Street. According to witnesses who called police, the woman was bundled onto a getaway car which had been parked in the vicinity. Passers-by were alerted when she screamed for help. A sneaker allegedly belonging to the victim was left at the scene. The vehicle was last seen heading towards Mongkok via Nathan Road. Police mounted a special operation, setting up roadblocks at major thoroughfares in a bid to intercept the car. The case has been classified as one of false imprisonment and is now being handled by the Yau Tin Mong District Crime Unit. Five mainland men have been arrested on suspicion of working illegally as renovators in Hong Kong. The men, aged 34 to 47, arrived in the SAR on tourist visas. They were caught performing furnishing works at 4 units of Fu Tip Estate in Tai Po. A 51-year-old man, who holds a Hong Kong identity card and believed to be the contractor, was also detained. He allegedly hired the mainland workers for $200 to $350 per day, paying the men in cash. The Immigration Department launched an investigation after noticing a mainland company offering cheap renovation services in the SAR. The firm charges as little as $20,000 to renovate a small flat. Officers said the workers were all experienced in their trade.
Currently, anyone who wishes to become a registered nurse can study for a nursing degree at tertiary institutions. The hospital authority's 3 nursing schools offer another pathway with its 4-year diploma program. To entice applicants, the authority announced that from the coming academic year, students could be awarded a certificate after 3.5 years, 6 months earlier than before. The change is now pending approval from the Nursing Council of Hong Kong. Public hospitals have been experiencing an exodus of nurses in recent years. While the turnover rate remained relatively stable at around 6% in the 3 years from 2018, it surged to nearly 11% in 2022-23. But Hong Kong's oldest nursing school at Queen Elizabeth Hospital refuted claims that shortening the diploma program was a desperate bid to fill the manpower shortage. Principal Bonnie Au emphasized students will still have to complete 1,400 hours of training, but they can now apply their acquired skills and knowledge in practicum sooner.
There is no change in the contents we teach to the students, like the theories and the skills. There is no change. Just the period has been shortened, and all the contents we teach to the students remains the same.
Together with its 2 sister schools at Caritas Medical Center and Tuen Mun Hospital, the 3 nursing academies admit up to 300 students every year. Applications close on July 19th, and the school believes up to 6 people will vie for 1 seat. Asked if the quotas can be increased, Au conceded it could not be achieved in a short period of time as many stakeholders are involved. She also would not comment on whether the government's plan to recruit non-locally trained nurses will impact admission figures, saying any move to boost manpower is welcome. Janice Low, Cable News.
There was despair and desperation among Palestinians in the southern Gaza city of Rafah. Many who came here to seek shelter when their homes were destroyed are now asked to leave again after Israeli forces wanted to evacuate the region ahead of a ground offensive. Israel estimated around 100,000 people will have to temporarily move to other parts of the Gaza Strip. Those affected will be notified through flyers, text messages, phone calls, and media broadcasts. A military spokesman urged Palestinians to move to Khan Yunis and Al-Mawasi, where aid would be available. But aid groups say that is simply impossible, as most cities outside Rafah have been reduced to rubble, with no infrastructure or basic necessities.
Hong Kong's exchange fund finished in the black for the 2nd consecutive quarter, although the latest performance paled in comparison to the end of last year. The fund, used to maintain the stability of the local currency, posted gains of $54.3 billion between January and March. That was down 50% compared to the same period last year, and 55% to the previous quarter. It marked the 4th profit in 5 quarters, with the only exception being the $10.5 billion loss reported in the 3rd quarter of 2023. Breaking down the investment by category, the fund posted gains of $25 billion from bonds, down 2/3 from the previous quarter. There was also a profit of $36.3 billion from stocks outside of Hong Kong. But the gains were partially offset by the sluggish performance of local stocks, which lost another $2.3 billion, its 4th consecutive quarter in the red. Foreign exchange assets, also took a hit of $4.8 billion, reversing gains of $8.8 billion in the previous quarter. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority, the city's de facto central bank, which manages the fund, said elevated interest rates could remain for some time as authorities in the United States delay their interest rate cuts.
If you look at the PCE inflation, it's actually been quite high for a while. It's not coming down. So we will still need to see the incoming economic data and see where the inflation path in the US will go, and see whether they will, as the market is expecting now, defer the rate cut decision, and also the pace may be a little slower than expected before. For us, we will continue to be defensive in positioning the exchange fund, make sure that there is sufficient liquidity for the exchange fund, and be dynamic in this quite uncertain and rapidly changing investment environment.
Janice Yu, Cable News.